Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's potluck time. We're having it with coffee, by the way, with lots of cream. And this is where we discuss our favorite stories of the day. David Briggs, it says in prompter, you are our head chef.
First off, you're not having coffee. You're having cream with a little bit of coffee. It's not coffee with a little cream. It's cream with a touch of coffee.
Maybe it's a milkshake.
We'll get to that later on.
I got to gain some weight. Anyway, David, what do you got?
Well, I'm going to stay in my lane now. We'll talk some sports because LeBron James, his 10-year-old son, Shocker, is an outstanding basketball player.
Not adopted.
He is actually being recruited, though, by the colleges. They are not only commenting on him on public television, but they are sending him letters, and LeBron's a little ticked off at this.
Wait, is he a sophomore or junior? I missed the age part.
He's 10.
Oh, 10.
10 years old.
Oh, that's fifth grade.
And already receiving letters from the colleges, which angers LeBron a little bit. But hey, LeBron, you got this whole thing started. Mm-hmm. You have become a global icon. There will someday be worth $1 billion or more. This, you can't put the genie back in the bottle, folks. Here he is. LeBron's kidding me. He is outstanding, and you have to recruit him if you are a college coach in need of some publicity and a future star.
He's wearing 6. He's wearing the Miami number, not the Cleveland.
The question is for everyone, how young is too young to start recruiting a young kid? First off, we don't know if he's going to be good at all. I mean, he could be 15 and stink up the gym. He might never grow again. But how young is too young to start sending a kid college recruiting letters?
Jennifer?
I would say this is a little creepy.
Yeah?
I mean, he's a tiny kid. I think everybody's, going for the name recognition. They're wanting to jockey into position, get him interested in certain colleges early on. But, another way to look at it is that a lot of other young kids who aren't the son of wealthy, famous people would probably be dying for an opportunity like this.
They might be. Look, I don't think this is really about his skill, because you're right, that we have no idea if this kid's going to pan out, but his last name is James, and even looks like his dad, so it's a great marketing play. I think it's an opportunity to do one question and ask, what is the impact on the kids? Figure out how basketball is an on-ramp to a better life, whether you get a contract or not. And then work down. And whatever age it works for those little kids, start. If it's 9 or if it's 19. How can playing sports actually be an on-ramp to a better life? You do that, I don't care about the age.
You bring up a good point. I think this could potentially be damaging for kids. Because if, of course, he doesn't reach the potential that everyone hopes he does,
they drop
then
him.
what?
Right.
Then
it's
just
going to be a big disappointment.
But if I'm a college coach and I'm maybe not a Duke or North Carolina, I'm offering him a scholarship right now. If I'm Nike, I'm offering him a deal because you might get some publicity on this. Even if he stinks, I'll give him a scholarship because he comes to your school, you sell an extra 10,000 tickets. And I say, hey, let's go with this.
Let me get the final word before we go to you.
It's a great way to start teaching sportsmanship. Start talking to kids about their futures, their scholarship, their sportsmanship, their skill, their life skills. I think it's, it could be turned and flipped into some kind of good, but I doubt it would be.
You want to know the irony? Michael Jordan was horrible at that age. Right?
Yeah,
I believe he got cut from his JV team, right?
Yep.
And LeBron James never went to college. So maybe if this kid ends up being really good, they're going to waste their time because he's going to right to the pros
Can't
anyway.
do that anymore.
Right.
You got to
That's
play
true.
1 year.
You got to play 1 year. That's true. Boy, I sound stupid.
That's
See, that's
true.
why we have a sports guy here instead of a wannabe. Jennifer, go ahead.
Okay,
me getting out of
so
being embarrassed.
previously we've talked about the Christian cult followers of Christ and how they deny their own children medical care because they believe in faith healing, and they've had hundreds of their own children die of very easily just taking care of diseases like, stomach bugs or the flu or pneumonia. Well, now it's hit a new level because Idaho Republican Representative Christy Perry is now defending their quote-unquote religious freedom, saying that they should not be forced to take their children to the doctor, even when they're on their deathbed. While, meanwhile, there's graveyards in Idaho full of hundreds of young children who have died from easily preventable diseases.
I stood in those graveyards, and it's a horror. And I really believe that often people don't understand freedom of religion, and they think it's freedom of worship, and that when it comes to your rest of your life, the government should control your beliefs. And I don't feel that's right. That's not what freedom of religion is. But when it involves abusing your kids, I don't care what your faith is.
Right.
People have the right to opt not to have health care if they don't want it, if that's their faith. And I will defend that to the end. But to have little kids dying of easily preventable diseases, of dehydration, of the flu, that's obscene.
I don't see why this isn't murder.
we needed the lawyers. Murder, manslaughter, it's certainly criminal. And we take kids away from families for so much less. It's such an abuse of the notion of faith. Not because you don't have a right to any belief you want. Have it. Believe whatever you want. But when you coerce others in the name of that faith, whatever it is, we have a problem.
And Rep. Perry defended herself by saying that death is a part of life and that she thinks other people in America can't handle death. And that this cult of followers believes that death is natural and that they accept death, which is just a ridiculous argument. It's very disturbing.
I'd love to have more time to talk about this on
As
another
would I.
night.
She needs
because
to be voted
it's
out.
a whole bowl of wrong. And when we come back, a whole bowl of right, more potluck, including mine. This is the Daily Wrap, only on Newsmax TV. Welcome back to the Daily Wrap. Let's get right back to our meal. Rabbi, what did you cook up tonight?
National Security Advisor Susan Rice is offering a double scoop of hostility to Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. And I want to share the quote. And by the way, all cards on the table. I am opposed to him coming to give this talk. I think it's not a wise thing to do.
Why?
But because I think he is actually creating tension where it doesn't need to exist. Whether he's right or wrong doesn't matter. But here's what's also wrong, and I want you to hear the quote. He has injected a degree of partisanship into the relationship that should be above politics. Great. I actually agree with that. But if it should be above politics, then so should the White House. And they should be able to say, we disagree with your coming, but of course we're going to meet with you. You're our oldest and best ally in the most complicated region in the world. So you tell me who's injecting politics now. The fact that someone else is doing it wrong doesn't give you a pass to double down and do even more. And she goes further. It's destructive to the fabric of the relationship. How? It's only destructive to the fabric of the relationship if this administration allows that to happen. Right? Whether it's a personal relationship or a relationship between nations, it's only destructive if both parties agree it's going to get there. If one party says, we think you're wrong, we're going to publicly say it, but it'll never be allowed to be destructive because this is too important for that. And that really does come back to the White House, not to Netanyahu.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Where did this all go wrong? Where the president doesn't like Netanyahu and Netanyahu doesn't like the president. I don't understand why this is so tense.
So
Yet
this
we
is,
talk to Iran
this is
like
dime
we're
store
not gonna happy hour.
psychology, so you know exactly what it's worth. But I will tell you what I think it's about. I think you have two leaders who are actually playing out dramas that are much bigger than the offices they inhabit. I think you've got a prime minister of Israel who is living out the legacy of his dead brother, who was the hero of the raid on Entebbe, and lives with a sense of mortal threat even when it isn't always there. There are plenty facing Israel, but they're not always there, and he's always playing that out. And you have a president who has a vision of himself because he is historically significant, whether you agree with him or not, who is playing things out that are beyond the best political interests of the country. Not because he doesn't believe in them, but because he is a kind of a mythic figure, and there's a lot of baggage. And so I think what's happened is they've bumped into each other. They each have this grander than office vision, and they haven't, either one of them, figured out, oh, right, we were elected to do what we think is right, even when we don't like the person we're doing it with.
Jenny?
Well, I mean, you know, both of them have acknowledged that they talk on a very regular basis, and both of them have said it's not that they don't necessarily not like one another. They do have differences, obviously, especially with Iran. But, you know, I think the White House has been put between a rock and a hard place in this situation. I can't imagine how exactly you back down from Boehner inviting Netanyahu without telling you. You know, it started on a very sour note of distrust and politics and partisanship and intrigue. And I think it's very hard to retrieve that from that beginning.
Dave, last word.
Shouldn't the president at least send the vice president to this speech? He's not condoning, agreeing with everything he said in the speech by appearance.
That's a happy medium.
Well, there's
but
talk
compromise.
about having the speech in a different location so that it's not as weighty.
No, because
They're
Jenny, here's the
talking
key.
about
It's hard to back down. It's not about backing down. Once the White House thought this was about backing down, they made a mistake.
no,
one's
not
backing
down.
It's disagreeing.
It's what do you then do to go forward?
You say, I think you're wrong, but we're going to meet because you're our best ally.
And that's our last word. Unfortunately, I know Briggs wanted to jump back in there again, but he doesn't realize what part of the show we're on. It's my turn. I'm not about to have my segment get
You go,
stepped on.
Joe.
No, you're going to like this, Briggs, actually. So should news organizations ban on-air talent from Twitter. And here's why I'm asking this question again, because one Keith Olbermann, formerly of MSNBC, Fox, MSNBC, ESPN, and ESPN, those are the 5 places he's worked at and worked at again, he sent out a tweet about Penn State students. There's Keith there. Never seems to age. Always kind of has that same kind of look and nice glasses.
Smug smirk.
Yes, smug. Let's read those tweets, shall we? At Keith Olbermann, the students, I'm an alum, gainfully employed in D.C., are pitiful for running an organization that raises millions, okay? And Keith writes back, again, get your dollars back. You didn't learn, I'll do my Keith voice, get your dollars back. You didn't learn how to read. Penn State students are pitiful because they're Penn State students. Period. That got retweeted 189 times. So, you know, Keith went to Cornell, a satellite school
And
of
got
Cornell.
removed from the air for a week, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So he's suspended again. So here's my question. All right, we'll do a little lightning round practice yay and nay. He represents ESPN ultimately. That could be his personal Twitter account, but there's no filter. So he could go right out to his, and he has many, I think over 1 million followers, and say something. Now ESPN has to answer for him. My question is, does everybody on the air, including myself, need an editor for Twitter? Quickly.
I'm going to go no. I think that's too much control.
Nay?
Live with the risk. Nay.
Okay, Jenny?
I say no editor, free speech, but I say contractual parameters around what they will do on Twitter.
Agreed. Dave, 5
There
seconds.
are contractual parameters about what we do. Trust me, I signed a contract, so no, it's an unfiltered medium, and that's the only way broadcast television can create that type of controversy.
Okay, and that's our note, and that's the preview of what we're doing next. Yay or nay is next. This is the Daily Wrap only on Newsmax TV.